Well, guess what? Got some more fantastic dance music. I love that dance music. I wished I put some more of it on my fancy playlist, but I was just falling in love with it back in 1989. Dead or Alive at number 15. Come Home With Me, Baby, up 12. Big mover, up 12 from 27. Not bad for an obscure record on my fancy playlist, July 30th, 1989. The album was Nude. That was the name of the album, Dead or Alive. Let's go back to the formation of Dead or Alive. Just a very, very broad brush, simplistic overview. Formed in 1980, Pete Burns, the lead singer, the androgynous persona, mixed with that machismo. He looked great in the videos, and I would not be surprised if a lot of women were envious of his hairstyle. Just had it all blown out and everything, and curled and just all goosed up, and yeah, very macho, very machismo in his delivery at times. A real man. How about that? Dead or Alive back in 1980 from Liverpool, England. One of their early records was called I'm Falling. A lot of people compared that song to the Doors, had a Doors sound to it. But I'm thinking more like sort of a precursor of the 80s new wave. Wall of Voodoo's Mexican Radio comes to mind. The Smiths, The Cure, Ministry, got that screeching guitar in there, came out with another record, and they were getting traction. They started to gin up some interest, an audience. Then something happened in England. Not here in the States, but in England. The new romantic movement. All these groups, these pop stars came with this flamboyant costumes, dressed up so extravagantly, and came out with some great pop music, dance music, rock music. The new romantic movement epitomized by acts like Duran Duran, A Flock of Seagulls, Spandau Ballet, Boy George of the Culture Club, kind of shoved Dead or Alive aside. But Pete Burns was undaunted, unfazed. He retooled the band. And some members left, and there were new members that came in, including Mike Percy, the bass player, and Wayne Hussey. I believe guitarist, got him down as a guitarist here on my notes. Came out with a came out with an indie hit in England. Might have been a dance record. They evolved it to a dance outfit, producing dance music. Got a deal with Epic Records. Came out with their first album in 1984, Sophisticated Boom Boom, their debut album. And for the American audience, I direct this to the American viewer of this video. Check out their version of that album of That's the Way I Like It by KC and the Sunshine Band. This would be their first massive British hit. Well, it wasn't too massive, but it was substantial. Went to number 22. Their version of the KC and the Sunshine Band hit, going to number 2 in England back in 1984. Then, history was made big time. They teamed up with Stock, Aikman, Waterman. They were massive producers in England back in the 80s and early 90s. They had their first number one hit record as producers with Dead or Alive. You Spin Me Around, summer 1985. I'll never forget the night I saw the video for the first time. Summer 1985 on Night Tracks. There it was, Pete Burns. He was really throwing down an awesome performer, a dynamic performer. Pete Burns. Then came Brand New Lover in 1987. God, that swirling synthesizer, that pumping synthesizer, and it didn't do well in England. Can you believe it? Brand New Lover went to number 31 in England. That is it. But went to number 15 in the States. Now we come to this album, Nude, that was produced. It wasn't produced by Stock, Aikman, and Waterman. It was produced by Pete Burns and drummer of Dead or Alive, Steve Coy. But it's got that Stock, Aikman, Waterman sound, particularly a cut I listened on YouTube. Get Out of My House. It's got that. It's got that. SAW 5 all over that record. The big hit off this album. No impact here in the States. Turn Around and Count to 10. One of their best. They killed it. Pete Burns just looked fantastic in the video. Got the long black hair curled up and everything. And that song did do well in England. Went to number 70 in England. But guess what? Turn Around and Count to 10 went to number 1 in Japan. It was massive in Japan. How massive? Number 1 for 17 weeks. Gosh, that is phenomenal. Now, this record on my fancy playlist, Come Home With Me Baby, went to number 1 on the dance charts. Not much of an impact on Billboard's Hot 100. Unfortunately, I didn't get the chart position on Billboard's Hot 100. Forgot to do that, but it was nowhere near the top 40. But it's in the top 15 on my fancy playlist. Probably going to go top 10 on my fancy playlist of July 30th, 1989. Pete Burns, Dead or Alive. Number 15, Come Home With Me Baby, on my fancy playlist, July 30th, 1989.